Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Learn English Through Podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jack. Today, we're diving into a very useful topic, how to talk at the restaurant. Whether you're dining out or ordering for the first time in English, we've got you covered.
Absolutely. You know, Jack, sometimes going to a restaurant in another country can feel a bit intimidating. You don't always know what to say, and you want to make sure you sound polite and confident.
Totally agree. And that's exactly why today's episode is practical. We'll give you examples of real conversations, phrases you can use, and some tips on how to sound natural.
So, let's start from the very beginning, entering the restaurant. Imagine walking in. What do you say first?
Usually, the first thing is greeting the host or hostess. You can say something like, "Good evening. A table for two, please."
Right, simple and polite. You could also add, "Do you have a table available?" if you didn't make a reservation. And remember to smile. It always helps.
Yes, and if you already made a reservation, you can say, "Hello, I have a reservation under Jack Smith." That way, they know you're expected.
Once you're seated, the waiter or waitress usually hands you a menu. Now here comes an important part, asking questions about the menu.
Exactly. A common question could be, "Could you tell me more about this dish?" Or, "What do you recommend?"
And if you have dietary preferences, you can ask, "Does this dish contain nuts?" or "Is this vegetarian?"
A small tip here. Using "could you" or "would you" makes your question sound polite. For example, "Could you explain what this soup has?" sounds better than just saying, "What's in this soup?"
Perfect. And when the waiter answers, it's nice to acknowledge it. A simple, "Thank you, that sounds great," goes a long way.
Now, let's move to ordering drinks. You can say, "I'll have a lemonade, please," or "Could I get a glass of water?"
And if you want to order for everyone at the table, you can say, "We'll start with some drinks, please." It sounds natural and polite.
After drinks comes the main course. You might hear the waiter asking, "Are you ready to order?" Or, "Would you like a few more minutes?"
And if you're ready, you can simply say, "Yes, I'd like the grilled chicken, please."
Or, "I'll have the pasta with tomato sauce." Easy, right?
Definitely. And if you want to customize your order, you can politely add, "Could I have it without cheese?" Or, "Can you make it a bit less spicy?"
A small tip. Always say please and thank you. It shows respect and makes the interaction smoother.
Okay, Jack. So far, we've covered greeting, asking about the menu, ordering drinks, and ordering food.
Right. And in the next part, we'll talk about checking in during the meal, asking for something extra, and how to ask for the bill politely.
Perfect. But before that, let's give our listeners a short practice. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter asks, "What would you like to drink?"
Pause for a second. Now say aloud, "I'll have a green tea, please." Great! Practicing these small sentences helps you feel confident when it's real. Okay, Emma, so after we've ordered, sometimes we might need something extra during the meal. For example, maybe more bread or an extra napkin. How would you ask politely?
You can say, "Excuse me, could we get some more bread, please?" Or, "Could I have an extra napkin?"
And if the waiter comes by and asks, "Is everything okay?" you can respond depending on your experience. If it's good, just say, "Yes, everything is perfect, thank you."
But if there's a small issue, like the food is too salty or the dish is missing an ingredient, you can politely say, "Excuse me, I think my salad is missing the dressing. Could you bring it?"
Exactly. Using polite phrases makes the conversation smooth and avoids any misunderstanding.
Another important thing is to show interest in the staff. You could ask, "How long have you been working here?" Or, "Is this a popular dish?"
It makes the atmosphere friendly. Yes, it also gives you practice speaking English in a natural context. And speaking of the dishes, sometimes you might want to ask for recommendations after tasting. You can say, "This is delicious. What's your favorite item on the menu?"
That's a great tip. Now, let's talk about timing. Sometimes you might need to know how long the food will take. You could ask, "How long does it usually take for the main course?"
And if you're in a hurry, you can politely mention it. "We have a short break before our next appointment. Could the food come a bit faster if possible?"
Right. Being honest but polite always works. And during the meal, you might want to compliment the chef. For example, "Please let the chef know this was amazing."
That's one of my favorite lines. People really appreciate it.
Now, let's move to desserts and toffee. Often, after finishing the main course, the waiter might ask, "Would you like to see the dessert menu?"
A simple response could be, yes, please, that sounds great. Or maybe just coffee today, thank you.
And if you want something special, like a slice of cake without nuts, you can say, could I have the chocolate cake but without nuts, please?
Ordering drinks after the meal is similar. You can say, could we get a cappuccino and a glass of water?
And sometimes people want to split the bill. You can ask, could we have separate bills, please? Or, can we split the check?
And if you're ready to leave, it's polite to thank the staff. Thank you for the wonderful service. Or, everything was delicious, thank you.
Exactly. Small phrases like these show gratitude and make a lasting impression.
A common mistake people make is forgetting to tip politely in some countries. You could ask, is service included? Or could you add the tip to the bill?
That's true. Knowing local customs is always helpful.
Another scenario is calling the waiter over when they are far. You can say, excuse me, could you help us please? Without raising your voice.
Right. Keeping it polite is key. And if you accidentally spill something, just say, I'm sorry, could I get a napkin? Or, excuse me, I need some help cleaning this.
Great examples. And while waiting for food, it's also common to have small conversation with your friend. You can practice phrases like, this place has a nice atmosphere, don't you think? Or, I wonder what dessert I'll choose.
That's a nice way to combine learning English with enjoying the meal.
Exactly. Okay, Emma, I think in the next part, we can cover more advanced situations, like handling complaints politely, asking for recommendations for wine, and making special requests.
Sounds good. But before that, listeners can practice. Imagine the waiter asks, would you like to try today's special? Pause and say aloud, yes, I'd love to try it, please.
Emma, sometimes, despite our best efforts, something doesn't go as planned with our order. How can we handle complaints politely in English?
That's a good question. If your meal isn't as expected, you can say, excuse me, I'm sorry, but my dish is a bit cold. Could you heat it up, please?
Or if the wrong dish arrives, you could say, I think there has been a mistake. I ordered the grilled salmon, not the chicken. Could it be changed?
The key is to stay calm, speak politely, and use phrases like, I'm sorry, or could you please?
Exactly. And sometimes, people want to ask about wine or drinks more specifically. For example, could you recommend a red wine that goes well with steak?
Or, do you have a sparkling water or just still water? These questions sound natural and help you get exactly what you want.
Another useful tip is making special requests. For instance, if you want extra sauce, you can say, could I have some extra sauce on the side, please?
And if you prefer your meat cooked in a certain way, like medium or well done, you could say, could I have my steak medium rare, please?
Sometimes, people want to order for children or people with allergies. You can say, could you make this less spicy for a child? Or, is there a gluten-free option?
Perfect. Now, during the meal, it's common to interact with the staff about small details. For example, asking for refills politely. Could we get some more water, please?
Or, if you want to check your order, you can say, excuse me, could you confirm that my order is vegetarian?
Another interesting situation is when you want to change your order after it's already been placed. You can politely ask, I'm sorry, could I change my order to the pasta instead of the rice?
And if someone at the table wants to try a different dish, you can ask the waiter, would it be possible to share the appetizer? Or can we get an extra plate, please?
That's a very common scenario in English-speaking restaurants. Sharing food politely is a skill in itself.
Yes. Also, if you're enjoying your meal, you can compliment the dish. This pasta is really flavorful. Could you tell me who the chef is?
And when it comes to desserts, sometimes you want to know portion sizes. You could ask, is this dessert large enough for 2 people to share?
Or if you're curious about a new dish, could you explain what this dessert has in it?
Another tip, when you finish, it's polite to ask for the check. You can say, could we get the bill, please?
And if you want to add a tip to the card, you could ask, could you include the tip in the card payment?
Sometimes people want to pay separately. You can say, could we split the bill, please? Or, each person will pay for their own meal.
Also, if you want to leave a quick feedback, you can say, everything was wonderful. Thank you for the great service.
Or, if you want to leave a suggestion, you could say, the food was delicious, but maybe the lighting could be a little brighter.
Another small, natural conversation is talking about the ambiance. You could say, this restaurant has a really cozy atmosphere, or I love the background music here.
And while waiting for the check, it's a nice idea to engage with your friends. Which dish did you enjoy the most? Or, do you think we should come here again?
These small talks help you practice English while enjoying your meal naturally.
For our listeners, here's a practice line. Imagine the waiter brings the Wong dessert. Say aloud, "Excuse me, I ordered the chocolate cake, not the cheesecake. Could you please bring the correct one?"
Emma, another situation that often comes up is making a reservation in advance. How would you ask for one in English?
You could say, "Hello, I'd like to make a reservation for 4 people at 7 p.m., please."
And if you're not sure about the time, you can ask, do you have a table available around 7 p.m.?
Once the reservation is confirmed, it's polite to ask about any special conditions. For example, could we have a table by the window? Or, is it okay if we bring a small birthday cake?
Exactly. And if you need to cancel or change the reservation, you can politely say, I'm sorry, I need to change my reservation from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Is that possible?
Or, I apologize, but we won't be able to come tonight. Could you cancel the reservation, please?
Now, ordering for a large group can be tricky. You might want to make sure everyone's preferences are clear. For example, could each person choose their own dish, please?
And if you want the waiter to explain multiple dishes, you could say, could you briefly describe the most popular dishes for our group?
Sometimes people want to try multiple starters. You can ask, could we order 3 appetizers to share among the table?
And if someone has dietary restrictions, it's polite to mention them early. One person is vegetarian. Could you suggest suitable options?
Another common question is about specials or limited time offers. You can ask, what's today's special? Or are there any seasonal dishes?
And when the waiter recommends something, you can respond naturally. That sounds interesting. I'll try that, please.
Some people like to ask for pairing suggestions. For example, which wine pairs well with the salmon? Or would you recommend a dessert to go with this coffee?
Yes, those phrases are really useful, especially in fine dining.
A polite way to manage timing in larger groups is to check if everyone is ready before ordering. You can say, is everyone ready to order, or do you need a few more minutes?
And if someone at the table needs help choosing, you can suggest, I recommend the pasta. It's very good here.
Sometimes you may want to ask for the kitchen to prepare food in a certain way. For instance, could you make the salad dressing on the side?
Or, could you serve the meat well done for one person and medium rare for another?
Another interesting scenario is dealing with a delay in service. You can politely ask, excuse me, do you know how much longer the food will take?
And if the waiter apologizes, a polite response would be, no problem, thank you for checking.
Let's not forget about beverages. For example, asking for refills is common. Could we get a refill for our drinks, please?
And when trying something new, you could ask, could I taste a small sample before ordering the full portion?
Another useful tip is handling leftovers. You can ask, could I get a container to take the rest home?
Or, if you want to share a dish with a friend, you could say, could we split this into 2 plates, please?
Small interactions like these help learners feel more confident in real-life restaurant situations.
For practice, imagine you want to ask about the special dish of the day. Say aloud, excuse me, could you tell me what the special is today?
Emma, sometimes even in polite situations, a customer might disagree with a suggestion or an explanation. How can we handle that naturally in English?
If the waiter suggests something you don't want, you can say, "Thank you, but I think I'll choose something else."
Or if they recommend a side dish you don't like, try, I appreciate the suggestion, but I'd prefer a salad instead.
Yes, it's always polite to acknowledge their effort before refusing.
Another situation is when you want to ask about the level of spiciness in a dish. You could say, is this dish very spicy or mild?
And if it's too spicy, you can ask politely, could you make it a little less spicy, please?
And if it's too spicy there, you can ask, could you make it a little less spicy, please?
Ordering dessert drinks can also be tricky sometimes. You might want a coffee, tea, or a cocktail. You could say, could I get a cappuccino with skim milk? Or, do you have any herbal tea options?
And if you're in the mood for something sweet, you can ask, what desserts do you recommend for someone who loves chocolate?
Sometimes people like to pair desserts with drinks. You can ask, would a glass of red wine go well with this cake?
Or, could I have a small coffee to go with the dessert?
Another polite phrase is checking the temperature of drinks. You could ask, could I have my tea a bit warmer, please?
And for kids, you might want to ask, could you make the hot chocolate less sweet? Handling allergies or intolerances is very important. You could say, I'm allergic to peanuts. Could you make sure my meal doesn't contain any?
Or, does this sauce contain dairy or gluten? Asking before eating helps prevent problems.
Another situation is asking about portions. Sometimes dishes are very large. You could ask, is this enough for one person or should we share it?
And if you plan to share, it's polite to say, could we have an extra plate, please?
Talking about drinks again, if you want something on the sweeter side, you can ask, could you make the lemonade a little sweeter?
And for iced drinks, you can ask, could you add less ice, please?
Another scenario is when you want to compliment the restaurant staff personally. You could say, the service today was excellent. Could you pass my thanks to the manager?
Or, the chef did a fantastic job. Everything tasted wonderful.
Sometimes it's fun to ask about the story behind a dish. You could say, is this a traditional recipe? Or where does this dish originate from?
That makes the dining experience more engaging and educational.
For practice, imagine you're at a restaurant and want to share a dessert with a friend. Say aloud, could we split this dessert into 2 plates, please?
And if you want to ask about pairing a drink with dessert, try saying, could you recommend a drink to go with this chocolate cake?
Emma, when the meal is over, asking for the bill is simple, but it's important to be polite. You can say, could we have the check, please?
Or, when you have a moment, could we get the bill? That sounds natural and doesn't rush the staff.
Sometimes people want to pay by card or cash. You could ask, do you accept credit cards? Or can I pay in cash?
And if you want to include a tip, you can ask, could you add 15% for the tip, please?
Another situation is paying for multiple people. You might say, could we split the bill evenly? Or, I'll pay for my part only, please.
It's also polite to ask if the tip is included in the total. Is service included in the bill?
After paying, it's a nice gesture to thank the staff for their service. Thank you very much. Everything was wonderful.
And if someone made your experience special, you can mention them specifically. Please thank the chef. The food was amazing.
While leaving, it's natural to comment on the restaurant itself. You could say, we had a great time here. The atmosphere is lovely.
Or, I really enjoyed the flavors. I'll definitely come back.
For casual conversation while dining, it's helpful to ask your friend's opinion. Which dish did you like the most?
Or, do you think we should try something new next time? It keeps the conversation flowing naturally.
Some people like to ask for recommendations for next visits. You could say, next time, what dish would you suggest I try?
And when trying a restaurant in a different country, you might ask, are there any local specialties I should try?
For a final touch, you can make a friendly comment to the staff. We really enjoyed our evening. Thank you for everything.
And if the restaurant has a loyalty program or membership, you could ask, do you have a rewards program or membership I can join?
That's a great tip. It can also be a learning opportunity to practice English in real situations.
For practice, imagine the waiter asks if you want a receipt. Say aloud, yes, please. Could I have a receipt?
Another scenario, you want to leave a small gift or note for the staff. You could say, could I leave this note for the chef? Thank you for the wonderful meal.
And when saying goodbye, you can use simple phrases. Have a great evening. Or, goodbye and thank you again.
That wraps up most of the situations you'll encounter at a restaurant, from entering, ordering, asking questions, handling issues, to paying and leaving.
With these phrases and tips, listeners can feel more confident and enjoy dining experiences without stress.
Remember, being polite, using please and thank you, and speaking clearly will make any restaurant visit smooth and enjoyable.
We hope practicing these conversations helps you improve your English while having fun in real-life situations.
That's it for today's episode. Try using these phrases next time you visit a restaurant and notice the difference.
Thank you for joining us. Enjoy your meal, practice your English, and see you next time.